All right, so something that's been big in the news, well, really the last several weeks, but I mean, everybody in here has heard of Bitcoin, right? Okay, and it went up $2,000 overnight. Again, it's like over 15 grand per Bitcoin, whatever. It's ridiculous. But in any case, how many of you have heard of a coin called Ethereum? You've heard of it? Yeah. So it's actually kind of like maybe let's call it the second most popular coin. Now, besides a currency, what does that mean for computer science folk? So Ethereum was actually built as a platform to write software on top. And so this whole idea of all these cryptocurrencies are based on this thing called the blockchain, which is a kind of a distributed ledger that sits in the middle of the currency that every person who uses the currency shares, and that way not one person can cheat somebody else because they all have to agree upon the correct version of the ledger. But you could start thinking about, well, I mean, so one use for these cryptocurrencies is money, right? You buy crap with it. Well, nobody's going to buy anything with Bitcoin right now since it's just going up every single day. So you're better off just holding it and spending your US dollars. But punchline is you could also use it for other things. So I taught a cryptocurrency class here about 4 years ago. And we wrote an application there. We actually used the Bitcoin blockchain for this. We just kind of dealt with it ourselves, which is actually kind of funny now because even like during class, we were making like multiple $1,000 transactions, like during class, based on today's value of Bitcoin. But at the time, it was a nickel or something like that what we were transferring. But what we did is we wrote kind of a voting system. We decided one of the problems in the country is accurate voting and that kind of stuff. And so we said, hey, well, what if we could create a voting system where you could vote Party A or Party B and have every one of the votes validated and can only come from one legal address at a time, that kind of thing. All right. So leveraging the accuracy of these cryptocurrency things to solve let's call it a non-monetary well, at least non-directly non-monetary problem. But in any case, Ethereum was built with kind of this in mind. It's a currency too. We can certainly, so they say each coin of Ethereum, each token can represent, something you could buy a candy bar with. Expensive candy bar, but you could buy a candy bar with it. But you could also use it to represent a vote. You could use it to represent all these different things. And their platform is the algorithm is built to kind of support this. It's very fast transactions and things like that. Which is actually very interesting relative to what the current problem has been the last couple of days. Well, this company, which I don't know very much about, but they've created a game called CryptoKitties on top of the Ethereum blockchain. And so the concept of CryptoKitties is every kitty is unique on the blockchain. So it's a unique token. It's a unique Ethereum coin, I guess. And you're supposed to collect kitties kind of like Pokemon. Something like that. Now, what you can do, though, then is you could breed your kitties to produce new unique kitties that you can then sell on the market. So there's like this new market on top of Ethereum, which is a crypto kitty market where people are selling their cats, their bred cats for Ethereum, actual Ethereum coins. And what's interesting, so that's but no two cats are the same. So you don't get, there's not two Pikachus if we're in Pokemon lingo. So every cat is unique in some way. I'm not even sure what the uniqueness is, whatever. But you can click on the marketplace here and probably browse cats. Here for sale, 0.23 Ethereum. So that's $100 cat. Ethereum is roughly $400 a coin, ballpark. That's what's this? Oh, look at that guy. That's a 249 Ethereum cat. That's a $10,000 cat. Is that right? No, it's way more than that. I'm old and stupid. Hold on. 249 times. That's a $100,000 cat. This cat is $100,000. I can see Abe eyeballing that one. It's like, what makes that cat 100? I mean, was it the tooth thing? But in any case, I'm guessing that one's not going to sell. That seems to be ridiculous. But do they have stats associated with these cats? 1 day left for this one. I'm Kitty129332. My friends describe me as fabulous. So, biggest teacher's pet in college. Time to learn the perfect whatever. And here's the parents of that kitty. I don't know if you get the whole family for that. I'm not sure exactly how it works. But the interesting aspect of this from the platform perspective is, so this has been, I think, for just a couple of days. And it's like something like $750 million equivalent in transactions have occurred around these crypto kitties. And what it's done is it's basically brought the Ethereum blockchain to a halt. Nobody can actually spend Ethereum because it's so busy processing kitties. So I thought that was really, they have a link for siring. What is this? It's like a hookup thing. Oh, it is. So this is like a bird cat. All right, hold on. This is prostitution, isn't it? So these, it is. So they want money to breed with another. It feels like this is like the modern day version. Well, whatever modern day version. You know how they have to put the parents' controls on like the kids with for the app stores on the phones, so the kids don't go and buy it like for various games and don't do all these in-app purchases and spend $700 on coins for some on fake money for some game or something like that. It's going to be funny if these news stories come out and these are kids doing this. Your parents get a $100,000 bill for Ethereum purchases. Oh, it's going to be awesome. All right, so since it's the default sorting is youngest first, this is actually child prostitution. This is just great. But anyways, I thought that was an interesting thing that people are building. I guess this is a collectible game on top of a cryptocurrency, which forget about the monetary aspect of cryptocurrencies, but it's effectively a very computer sciencey representation of uniqueness, whether it's monetary or a crypto cat or something like that. It's kind of an interesting thing, and you really might see certainly currency-based things in games being represented with this type of thing. Like items in games where I know some different games have tried to create ecosystems where I know, let's see, Blizzard with Diablo 3 originally had a real money auction house. So you would find a sword or something like that in there that you didn't need, but it was rare or something like that. You could put it up on the auction house in the game, and people could then buy it for real dollars. And it didn't work out very well. Amongst, let's call it real gamers, there's an aversion to this concept of pay to win. But among like time waster type games, which could be fun. I think I've seen you playing Clash Royale. And I play it too. I haven't played it in about a month, but I used to play it a lot. Kind of a time waster game. If you're going to spend real money on it, what are you doing? You're just getting cards quicker or something like that. So it's not like a major thing. You still have to play the game and do something. But if that's what you want to do, you're not really. That's fine. This is a time wastery type of game. But it'll be interesting to see how these cryptocurrencies play into the gaming ecosystem moving forward. Once we kind of get past this this boom of kind of what it's worth wealth-wise. Right now we're in a completely unprecedented territory with Bitcoin. It's just crazy stuff going on right now. We'll see how high it goes, but at some point it's going to stop going up 20% per day and turn into something that's reliable. I saw Steam yesterday is no longer accepting Bitcoin as payment because real problems are getting created out of this. Because Bitcoin, when you buy something, if something is $50 you would pay the equivalent in Bitcoin for that. Well, the problem is that it's moving so often. And what happens is when you first click add to cart and when you check out, it's got a new value in Bitcoin. So sometimes people will overpay for the Bitcoin version of it or underpay, and then they have to make up the difference. And the problem currently is you have this whole community of people trying to profit off of processing transactions on the Bitcoin network. So because it's not convenient for an individual to do it themselves. It's not hard, but it's not convenient. Grandma's probably not going to be able to spend Bitcoin is kind of the punchline. So what they're doing is they're taking a percentage of the fee, no different than swiping a credit card, right? Except for you to get the credit card fee when somebody buys something, you have to be named Visa or MasterCard. You're that company. Well, now you just have to be any sort of company that decides, hey, we'll let you make crypto payments using our platform, and it's easy for you, and we're going to take a cut. Well, the problem right now is the cuts are usually a percentage. When somebody buys something with a credit card, it's 1% or whatever it is, whatever the percentage is. Well, since Bitcoin is going up so quickly, what used to be called a 30-cent processing fee is now like $20. So you've almost paid for your game another time to spend Bitcoin on it just from a processing fee perspective. And that processing fee happens on both sides. So if they have to refund some small amount of Bitcoin to make up the difference, they're getting charged that $20 processing fee again. And that's very interesting. Yeah, so just seems very interesting that the currency keeps going up, yet we're in a position now where places that we've heard of are stopping accepting it because of its volatility. I don't know. It's going to be a very fun thing to watch, I think, but also a very computer sciencey thing since it's all based on security hashing algorithms and stuff like that. And maybe we should offer that course again. Did you take that one? It must have been your first year here. It was $390 because we haven't offered the special topics in a couple of years just because we haven't had the bandwidth to offer the extra class. But that was a cool class. Every year we would have like whatever the current cool thing was.
I forget what was the watch programming.
Yeah, we had watch programming. We had iPhone programming. We had cryptocurrency. We had a computer science real estate one, I guess 7 or 8 years ago, that dealt with technology in the real estate industry, which you can really actually do again now with like virtual reality and things like that. But yeah, they've been some cool courses. I was mentioning in my other class the other day, when I did that cryptocurrency class, I was talking to one of the students who took it, Steve Caruso. He's graduated, and what I had everybody do, like the first day of class, is they all had to go establish a Coinbase account, which is like thinking of it a bank for Bitcoin. And when you created an account back then, they gave you $1 worth of Bitcoin as a thank you, I guess, or whatever. Well, it's like worth like $38 now. He kept it. He has his point, whatever, blah, 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 of Bitcoin that they gave him for just creating an account. And now it's worth $36 4 years later. It's a major return on that. I mean, it's not a lot of money. It's a tank of gas, though, right? Maybe a couple of tanks of gas, depending on how big your gas tank is. I found that to be pretty interesting. Okay. So let's talk about the final. Actually, let me run this real quick first. Compile errors. I've never introduced a compile error. Did we put something in on purpose? Duplicate public modifier. Oh, we were starting to write this, the roll dice dealy. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I want to go back to the main scene. See, such a calming soundtrack.
Oh yeah.
Now, all of a sudden, stressful. Koolaid man, we're fighting him.
Oh yeah.
All right, so we had where we can select one of these guys, and we move forward. So I think last time, that's on the timer. So we started talking about creating statistics around these guys, and Nora would have some hit points and some magic points and that kind of stuff, and maybe she uses. Well, her hit points is how alive she is, how many how many hits she can take before she dies. Koolaid man would have the same thing. So these are things that are relative to staying alive. And then maybe Nora attacks first, so Nora's going to attempt to attack Koolaid man. So let me actually just open up something here. So there's our kitties again. Let's do. I wonder if this was actually necessary for them to SMS the code. Very exciting. 707-357. Yes, trust. So if we talk about battle logic, so we'll say player one attempts to attack. What does it mean to attempts to attack player two, let's say. What does it mean to attempt to attack? It means roll a d20, 20-sided die, and compare the results to the armor class of player two. If it is greater than or equal to AC, player one will hit player two. So actually, I'm going to move this down just to another. So we'll say it's greater than a will hit. So for our logic here, we'll say do 1 point of damage to player two. That is hit points minus minus is what that effectively does, right? Reduces their hit points by 1. let's just call this player 1 attacks player 2. That's what this logic is going to be, just so things don't get too small. So do 1 point of damage to player 2, then check to see if player 2 is dead. If dead, play win music. And remove player 2 from the scene. If not dead, switch to player 2 attacks player 1 logic. It's the other person's turn. Okay. So this is kind of following that whole D20 standard. So if Nora is trying to attack Koolaid Man, the first thing she does is she rolls the dice, gets a number between 1 and 20, compares that number to whatever Koolaid Man's armor class was. And when we built Koolaid Man, was it in our enemy? Here's our enemy container. This was... to look at our enemy container here. Takes in stats. We need to look at my stats. So hit points, magic points, armor class. Armor class is the last parameter being passed in there. So go back to enemy here. So that means Koolaid Man has an armor class of 12. So as long as Nora rolls a 12 or higher for with her D20, she will hit Koolaid Man. Now, in traditional Dungeons and Dragons, what would you do? You would turn around and then roll damage, depending on what kind of weapon you had. If you had a short sword, maybe you do a D4 of damage. If you had a broadsword, maybe you do a D6 of damage, something like that. But for us, we're just fists. It's 1 damage, just to keep it relatively simple. Okay, so. So the player 2 attacks player 1. Same logic, just reversed for who's actually rolling the dice and comparing it to whose armor class. Did we give Nora an armor class? Okay. So Nora doesn't have an armor class, but she's going to need an armor class, right? And hit points, she's going to need stats associated with her. And we want those stats to probably show up over or on this scene.
Oh, yeah.
Love that. Maybe have her stats show up over here, showing what her current hit points are, her current... you can show magic points, even though we're not necessarily casting stuff yet. Current armor class, so we know how strong she is. Because when Koolaid Man tries to attack her, it's going to, he's going to first roll against her armor class, whatever her armor class ends up being. If it is at least that value or higher, Koolaid Man would hit Nora. And so Nora would then lose a hit point. Now, so that would be in the simple model, right? So maybe a default. So maybe we say, so Nora has 2 different fight categories. She has a ninja category, which is just a strike, a punch, let's say. And then she has a tase category, which is kind of a magical type thing. And the idea would be is that that tase takes some amount of magic to be able to do that. So maybe to do a tase, it takes what did we give Koolaid Man as a starting point for magic? So we gave him 3. So maybe we say that to cast their spell, whatever the spell is, costs 3 or costs 1 magic point per spell cast. So that means that Kool-Aid Man could cast 3 spells. And realistically for Kool-Aid Man, his spells are probably going to be the machine gun thing, right? So when Kool-Aid Man attacks, so now we have to kind of go back in here and think about the different types of attacks. So if we want to replace this, maybe we do something like, instead of player 1, we say Nora attacks Kool-Aid. All right, so wherever we say Nora here, replace with Kool-Aid. Okay, so that's the general knowledge for Nora attacks Kool-Aid. But now we need to expand this a little bit and say, well, which kind of attack does Nora use? So if Ninja do all that stuff, if Tase, we're going to do most of the same stuff. So we'll roll a d20 compared to the result of the armor class for Kool-Aid to find out if we hit first. And actually, we could probably move that logic up here if we're building the algorithm for this, because we do that on either case. So we roll that d20 to see if we're going to hit, regardless of what kind of hit we try to do. Then we'll ask the question. Oops. Copied a little bit more than I wanted to. Okay, so if it's a hit, Nora will hit Kool-Aid. Now we have to start asking the question of how did we hit? If we chose Ninja, then we'll do 1 point of damage to Kool-Aid. We'll check to see if Kool-Aid is dead. And actually, we could probably take all those pieces out, put them at the very end. So I'll just put them down here for right now. All right, so if it's a Ninja, do 1 point of damage to Kool-Aid. If it's a Tase, do 2 points of damage to Kool-Aid, HP minus equals 2. Put a little note here, don't let them select Tase unless they have enough magic points. Because when we Tase, we're going to reduce Nora's MP by 1. It costs a magic point to tase, even if we miss. Okay, so we might even say, well, we can have it down here. So if Nora attempts to tase, she might miss, but she still had to cast that thing, right? Okay, so she's going to lose a magic point whether or not she hits or not. So we're not going to even let her select tase from our 2 choices unless she has at least 1 magic point. Okay, so she won't even be able to press enter on it. So you'll have to update your logic for, so we can put a little note up here. Nora can only select tase as an attack type if she has at least 1 MP. So then we'll roll the d20. If we hit, if she chose ninja, just do 1 point of damage. If it's tase, presumably she wasn't able to select unless she had the magic points, then we'll do 2 points of damage, and we'll reduce her magic point by 1, making it less likely that she can attack with magic again. Take this line out. All right, then, regardless of whether we tased or we ninja'd, we're going to check to see if Koolaid is dead. If he's dead, play wind music, remove Koolaid from the scene. If he's not dead, switch to Koolaid, attack Nora logic. Right, that makes sense? So this is how Nora attacks Koolaid. We get to choose as the player what kind of attack, either ninja or tase. In either case, we're going to try to hit Koolaid by trying to clear his armor class. If we hit, if it was a ninja, we just do 1 point of damage. If it was a tase, we do, and we only let them choose tase if they had at least 1 magic point. So if we had chosen tase, that means we must have had 1 magic point. Therefore, we will hit for 2 damage and then reduce our magic points by 1. Then check to see if Koolaid's still alive. Make sense for that one? Come down here. Am I allowed to? Can I paste the slide? Maybe not. Let's just do. Just copy all that. And we'll do this one. And we'll do Koolaid attacks Nora. And we'll paste our stuff down here. I can't make it shorter. That seems weird. Okay, well, then let's just do this. The logic's different enough anyways that it's not the end of the world. Oh, looks like we could have done. Let's delete this. Let's copy this. I already did that. So Control C. Go to a new slide. And then do Control V. Call it good enough. We can delete this guy. Okay, so this is Koolaid attacks Nora. So Koolaid attempts to attack Nora. All right, so now Koolaid is going to decide randomly decide between a machine gun magic point attack or a, what does Koolaid do melee wise? Oh, it's a punch attack. Get it? Koolaid's all right, or a punch attack. This would be just a melee attack. So how might we make that decision? Roll the dice. Maybe if we say it's 50-50 chance, then if it's a number between, since we have a D20 roller right now, we could always create another roller to give you like percentiles or something like that. But if we say it's a number between 1 and 10, then it's a machine gun attack. If it's a number between 11 and 20, it's a punch attack. So we're going to randomly decide whatever that means for our game. And then we will roll a d20, compare it to the result of the armor class of Nora, which presumes Nora must have an armor class, right? Then if the AC is greater than or equals, if the attack is greater than or equal to the AC, Koolaid will hit Nora. If this was a punch, do 1 point of damage to Nora. If it was a machine gun, don't let, let's see, machine gun cannot be randomly selected if less than 1 MP. So Koolaid, in order to even consider a machine gun attack, he has to have at least 1 MP left. So since we've given him 3 MP, his maximum number of machine gun attacks would be 3 during a fight. That's if he randomly chose to do it 3 times, and that would just be up for grabs. So if machine gun, do 2 points of damage to Nora. Reduce Koolaid's magic points by 1. Check to see if Nora is dead. If dead, play win music. Actually, probably play death music for Nora, right? Because Nora's now dead. And remove. Actually, we would probably show death scene. Show death scene. If not dead, switch to Nora attacks. Koolaid logic. Makes sense? And then let's go, and do I still have that screen up? I do. Oh, I thought I had music. Okay, here we go. So here's our victory music. So that's when Nora wins. So I'll go ahead and download that. And then if we go back to our planning here actually. After Nora wins, so when Nora attacks Koolaid, if dead, play win music, remove Koolaid from scene, return to map scene, like that, so that Nora can run around and fight a new Koolaid, something like that. It's just all about Koolaid hunting. All right. And then, let's see, so that's victory. Dead music, so if Nora kicks the bucket, and this would probably be the music playing during the death scene. So you would kick over to the death scene and play that music. So maybe I'll show you actually a picture. Oh, I don't know why I'm opening that. That's very depressing music, isn't it? So let's see. Usually it shows like a game over type thing. Let's do a search here. Final Fantasy game over. So actually, I'm not seeing the original. But, something along these lines where, we don't have to give them the option to start a new game or continue. New game would probably have them go back and just start on the map again where they originally started, but maybe just show a scene that has some graphic on it. Maybe it's Nora upside down or something like that, or just a scene that says game over, something like that. So switch to a scene that's not the scene that Nora was fighting in, because now the fight has ended and Nora did not prevail. So then the Nora one, if dead, play death music and show, so we'll call it game over scene. So why don't we say show game over scene. And play death music. Play sad death music. All right, so let's go into our project here, and I want to bring in those couple of extra sounds. So I'm going to import the new asset from downloads. All right, so this is the victory sound. And then we want to bring in another new asset. This is the, what's the difference between game over and you're dead?
I think it's Final Fantasy, but there's a little message at the bottom of the fight scene.
Yeah. But.
So might put the dead music on.
Yeah. I want to see what the sound difference, what it sounds like though. So I'm not going to have you do both. Ending theme, that's when you won the game. Yeah, I wonder where I got the, so which one was this one then? dead music. Okay, so that's our dead music. Oh, this must have been these are different formats. So that must have been from something else. So here's our dead music. So now we should have all the music that we need to accomplish those algorithms. Right, so does that make sense? All right, so let's talk about the final exam. So these are the algorithms we'll have to implement. So the final exam we're going to have down in the lab down there. I will provide everybody with my project as a starting point. You will have to add features at least very similar to this. I might change this a little bit. I have to think about how much time the exam will take and things like that. But basically, you're going to have to build the logic for Nora fighting Koolaid. And Nora should be able to fight Koolaid, continue on with the, well, here, we'll even throw another slide in here. So if we just talk about the final exam, Nora should be able to walk around and randomly start a fight with Koolaid. We already have that done, right? Okay. Nora's stats live, or let's see, persist through fights. Maybe a singleton will be helpful, right? Because if Nora gets beat up pretty good in one fight with Koolaid, but she happens to win the fight, and then she's back on the map, when she gets into her next fight, she's already half beat up. Her hit points don't start over. So her hit points need to be her actual current hit points. That make sense? So let's see. So if Nora gets beat up in one fight but wins, her next fight starts with her having less HP. If Nora wins a fight, she returns to map to wander. If Nora loses a fight, game is over, and show the game over scene. All right, so I'll provide everybody with a starting point for the game. And it's going to be either this exact starting point or something very similar. If I change the requirements of the exam, I have to think about how long this should take. You'll have the full 2 hours or hour and 50 minutes, whatever's allotted for the final exam. To do it, we'll be down in the lab down there. If you want to use your own computer, you can. All I care about is the project at the end. So what I'll have you do is when you're done, you'll demo your project for me, showing what's there, and then I'll also have you submit your scripts to a folder on Blackboard so I can take a look at those. So at the very least, if you want to kind of think ahead how you want to implement this or do this on your own, you can, but you're going to be doing it live during the exam with with my version of the project. So if you want to study by working on some of these pieces yourself beforehand, you can, because I'm effectively telling you giving you a pretty clear picture of what the exam's going to be, right? There might be a little bit of twisting here based on what I decide can be accomplished in 2 hours, but this should be pretty close to what it's going to be. So at the very least, you can begin to think about this ahead of time and that kind of stuff. You won't be able to reference your project during the exam, but you'll have my full project, so you'll be able to look at the other scripts that we've written and stuff like that for that kind of stuff. Okay, so questions about the exam. What's the date for the exam? I have it in my calendar. Thursday? So it's Thursday at 7:30 a.m. Bright and early. I don't even know if those computers turn on at 7:30. All right, so Thursday, 7:30 a.m. down in the lab down there. I will make sure that there are enough computers with Unity, the correct version of Unity installed on them, and I'll go ahead and I'll log them in as a admin account, so it's not doing all that extra slow the machine down stuff while you're working on your exam. But if you do want to use your own computer, that's fine. I'll have the projects on a jump drive as well. In fact, I'll probably give everybody a jump drive with the project on it. But if you're going to whatever machine you do the project on, you probably want to copy it to the desktop because it'll probably run fairly slowly off the jump drive by default, but that'll be the way I'll distribute it. All right, questions about the exam? Yeah, are they? Do I not already have the slides up on somewhere?
Yeah.
Okay, let's click on this. Copy link. Anyone with link, and it's view only. Share. Okay, that should open to the slides for the class. All right, questions, comments, concerns, bribes. 18 minutes early. All right, so I will see everybody on, well, I guess a week from today, 7:30 in the morning, a little bit early. You can bring food if you want. You should bring food for me. You're not allowed to bring food for yourself unless you bring food for me. All right.